Hi everyone, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me. This is nuts. Have you heard President Donald Trump says he is directing his government to reopen and expand Alcatraz, the notorious former prison on a hard-to-reach California island off San Francisco that has been closed for more than 60 years. I have been there many years ago. Yeah, it's deteriorating, it's cold, it's wet, it's a miserable place. I can't remember what year it was that it was occupied by Native Americans. I believe it was the warden's house that was burnt down. Yeah, there was a lot of destruction done during that time period. And when I was there, there was much of it that was closed. I didn't even know about the industrial complex where they made furniture and clothing and different things during the war effort. From what I could read, nowadays it's a museum for art. But I guess Trump is not messing around. He wants to send our worst criminals out to the rock in the San Francisco Bay. In a post on his Truth Social site Sunday, last night, Trump wrote that far too long Americans have been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. When we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone so they could not be harmed. That's the way it's supposed to be. That is why today, he said, I am directing the Bureau of Prisons together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security to reopen and substantially enlarge and rebuild Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. It's a historical site. I just can't see that ever being allowed. Here's why they originally opened the former military prison to U.S. prisoners, and you'll notice the similarities to Trump's reasoning. The federal government had decided to open a maximum security, minimum privilege penitentiary to deal with the most incorrigible inmates in federal prisons, and to show the law-abiding public that the federal government was serious about stopping the rampage crime in the 1920s and 30s. Prisoners such as Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, Arthur Doc Barker, Robert Stroud. I believe they made a movie about him called The Birdman of Alcatraz. If you're an older generation, you might have remembered seeing that. And it's one of the most inescapable prisons on the planet. Sure, you can get out, but how are you going to get ashore through those gnarly currents? This here is an image of the dining hall where the prisoners were fed, and I guess this is Christmas. What they had for a meal back in the day. It was in the 1950s, possibly 1951, I think. Here's an image. I guess it was left for historical value. Some of the vandalism that was done during the occupation. As a maximum security prison surrounded by the Pacific's strong, cold currents, Alcatraz had a reputation for being the last resort facility, where the most dangerous and most unruly of other prisons were sent. It was virtually impossible to escape despite numerous storied attempts. There evidently was 3 that there was much speculation that they did get off. I believe there was 14 attempts to get off the island. Now it's going to be like 3.5 seconds before a judge overturns this decision. Believe me, it was a miserable place. Their solitary confinement was 2 doors. And inside the one room, you go through the one door and then into the solitary confinement. It was total, complete darkness. And there was one light bulb, I believe, but they only kept on for maybe an hour or so a day. Trump's directive to rebuild and reopen the long-shuttered penitentiary was the latest salvo in his effort to overhaul how and where federal prisoners and immigration detainees are locked up. But such a move would likely be very expensive and challenging. The prison was closed in 1963 due to its crumbling infrastructure and the high cost of repairing and supplying the facility, because everything from fuel to food and water had to be brought in by boat. With all the environmental laws that they have nowadays, it would be so expensive just to tear everything down and to rebuild. Like I said, everything's got to be brought into this really small dock, which is over here. I believe this here is the prison, the water tower. There's a lighthouse on the island. This here is the industrial complex. And I don't know where the warden's house was that got burnt down, but yeah. Bringing the facility up to modern day standards would require massive investments at a time when the Bureau of Prisons had been shuttering prisons for similar infrastructure issues. In the 29 years that it was open, 36 men attempted 14 separate escapes, according to the FBI. Nearly all were caught or didn't survive their attempt. The fate of 3 particular inmates, John Anglin, his brother Clarence, and Frank Morris, is some of the debate that still goes on even today that dramatized the movie. They made a movie called Escape from Alcatraz, starring Clint Eastwood. Alcatraz Island is now a major tourist site that is operated by the National Park Service and is designated as a historic landmark. So, yeah, I can't see Trump getting his way. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. So what are your thoughts? Please put your comments down below. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.